Welcome to the Caregiver Relief Podcast. I'm your host, Diane Carbo, a registered nurse and caregiver advocate, and I'm so glad you're here with us today. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the photo clutter in your life, from boxes to old prints to digital photos scattered across devices, this episode will help you take a deep breath and finally bring order to the chaos. Joining me today is Angela Andrieux, MBA, a professional photographer, photo coach, writer, and experienced broadcaster. Angela is also a product evangelist for Mylio Photos, a powerful privacy-first photos organization and storage app designed to help individuals and families protect and preserve their most cherished memories without relying on the cloud. Now, that makes me very interested. Angela's passion is helping people go from overwhelmed to overjoyed by teaching simple strategies to organize photos, documents, kids' artwork, and more, using tools that empower you to create a meaningful, lasting legacy. This episode is sponsored by myvitalvault.net, your all-in-one life organizer for aging adults and caregivers. It's designed to help you securely store your essential legal, medical, and emergency information in one easy-to-access place. Because when a crisis hits, being prepared can make all the difference. Join our Caregiver Relief community, a warm, welcoming space where you can connect with other caregivers, ask questions, share stories, and find support from people who truly understand. Visit community.caregiverrelief.com to join now, because caregiving is one of the hardest and most meaningful things you'll ever do, and no one should have to do it alone. And if this episode speaks to you, please take a moment to like, share, or comment. Every click helps us reach more caregivers who need encouragement, resources, and hope. In today's episode, you'll learn how to safely organize over 50 years of family photos, even if they're spread across albums, devices, or boxes. We'll talk about the 3-2-1 method for backing up your memories in case of disaster. We'll also discuss how to create a virtual family reunion complete with photo slideshows and favorite recipes. And then how to get started with Mylio Photos. This is an episode every senior, every caregiver, memory keeper, and family historian needs to hear. Angela, thank you so much for coming out today and spending some time with us and telling us about this amazing platform.
Thank you so much for having me and for that wonderful introduction. I hope I live up to those expectations.
You wear so many hats.
I do.
You're a photographer, you're a coach, you're a writer, you're a broadcaster, and now product evangelist for Mylio Photos. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what drew you to memory preservation?
Yeah. So being a photographer, having those tangible memories is super, super important. I started out in photography quite young, but also didn't have the money to do film back when film was the thing. Once digital started, I got into digital photography and ended up jumping in with both feet. I got my first DSLR. My husband was in the military. He's retired now, but we lived overseas for 4 years. And that's where I really dove headfirst into photography, because when you're living in some place like Italy, how can you not take pictures?
Absolutely.
So I had this beautiful camera and I didn't know how to use it. So that's where I learned how to use it. And by the time we came back from living overseas, I decided I am now a photographer. Hung up my shingle and I did some portrait shoots and things like that. Really wasn't for me. What really calls me and what really lights me up is travel and cityscape and landscape photography. I love taking beautiful pictures that hopefully somebody will feel a reaction from. Maybe they want to put it up on their wall, make their home brighter and better place. So that's where I started. From there, my business grew into helping other photographers with technology. I started a photography blog while I was living overseas, and that morphed into talking about software and talking about techniques I was learning as I go and sharing that with other photographers So that's how my coaching business started, is I was sharing what I was learning as I was learning it. And now I help other photographers do those same things. That led me into the photography software industry where I work now. I've worked for a couple of different major software companies. Today, I work for a company called Mylio, and we make an application called Mylio Photos. And that is all about organization and bringing together your lifetime of memories into one place where you can safely protect and access those things when you need them. And that's really gotten me personally also started on the memory preservation and scanning in and digitizing my family's photos and giving tips to other people on how they can make those things happen. So it's this big organic progression through my career to where it started and where it is now and what I do. So yeah, I've got my fingers in lots of things. Definitely stay very busy.
Many of our listeners have decades of physical and digital photos spread everywhere. I know because I'm guilty. And I even have tubs of my family, my aging family members that have passed down to me, like an uncle who had no children passed a big box full of old photos down. Mm-hmm. Where do you suggest someone start, especially when they're feeling that sense of overwhelm?
So that's a really awesome question. And there's really two main ways people can go about this. There's the DIY option where you're going to take all of your stuff, you're going to organize it, you're going to digitize it and get things rolling that way. It's a big undertaking, and that's the less expensive route, but it's more expensive on your time. The other route is to hire somebody who does scanning and digitizing, things like that. There are people out there who are professional photo managers, and they'll help you from start to finish digitizing your stuff and getting it organized and delivering it to you in a format that's already done. So it's as much do it yourself or on the spectrum up to having somebody completely do it for you. So it really depends on your balance of time versus money. Some people have more time than money. Some people have more money than time. And you adjust that path as fits your life. So if you are starting out this by yourself, and you've got all these tubs of pictures, I like to take things kind of one step at a time. So take that first tub of pictures, break it down into manageable chunks, and do an overview of what you have. Get everything all into one place and start sorting through it. Do you have just physical prints? Are they in decent condition? Do you have stacks of certain sizes of things? Do you have things that are really fragile? Do you have other memorabilia that you want to preserve? Taking an inventory of what you have. If you have videos, if you have old 8mm film or anything like that, if you have slides, all of those things factor in. And if you're going to DIY, I think if you have those physical prints that you can scan yourself, that's the easiest. If you're starting getting into slides and the actual film that you want to scan and then digitizing movies, that's where it can be really helpful to bring in somebody who's an expert in that field, whether it's to hire them just to do the scanning or to do more and help you with the overall organization. It's completely up to you. There's the big box store variety of the scanning companies out there who will do it for less money. And then there's people who will give you a more bespoke experience. So there's a whole spectrum of that out there. But take inventory of what you have. And then start with those prints, those physical images that you have, and take obviously inventory of what you have already that can help you scan these things. So you can start with just your phone. If you want to do that, you can take a picture of a picture. That's one form of digitizing. There are apps out there that can help with that. One that I particularly like is called Photomine, and that's PHOTOMYNE, Photomine. And they've got a great app for helping you digitize pictures with your phone. And they sell a lot of tools to help accomplish that. So that's the lower end of the spectrum. And then you might have an all-in-one printer, scanner machine at your house. If that's got a good enough resolution on it, you can use that as a flatbed scanner and scan in some of your stuff. That can be really time consuming, but it works well if you have things that are fragile and oddly sized. The next step in that is to get something that's a dedicated scanner for the bulk of your pictures. And for me, I had a ton of 4x6s, and then going back through my grandparents' albums, a lot of these little 3x3s and 4x4s, but they were in good shape. They weren't too fragile. And I was able to get something called the Epson Fast Photo 680. This is a sheet fed scanner that you can put a stack of 30 pictures in, scan them at high resolution really fast, and it scans the front and the back. So that's the next step in that journey. If you're digitizing these things yourself to get to the point of having that scanner, and then being able to scan them in. It's not an inexpensive tool. I want to say it's around $600. So if you have other family members who are interested in tackling this project with you, spread the love and maybe go in together on buying the scanner. So you have the scanner for a couple of months, you scan in your stuff, and then you hand it off to the next family member and you spread the cost around of owning that, because not everybody has $600 laying around to go buy a piece of a specialized equipment. And again, for those fragile things, use your all-in-one scanner. That's what I do. There's a lot of different ways you go about doing that. Once you have your stuff digitized, whether you're doing it yourself or you've maybe outsourced it and you've gotten those files back, that's where something like Mylio Photos comes in, is you bring all of these digital files into this application. So you're talking about everything that you've scanned, all of your digital pictures from all of your various hard drives and memory cards and iCloud and Google Photos and wherever else that you've put pictures, you get them all downloaded locally and you bring them into this application. They're stored locally on your computer, so nothing's in a proprietary format or hidden from you. So you can always take them and go someplace else if you decide Mylio is not your favorite tool or something else happens. So it's very privacy centric and you have full control of your stuff. From Mylio Photos, you have lots of different options as for how you want to organize these things, but there are things in there that I call auto organization that will make your life a lot easier. And that is something we have one called the calendar view. So it goes off the metadata that's in your pictures and puts it onto the calendar. So even if they're scattered across different folders, you're seeing them in one view by the date that they happen. So if you remember things based on when they happen, that's an awesome view. Then if you have scans that don't have the appropriate date, it's really easy to fix them. You have the map view, which puts everything on the map. So anything with GPS information, all populated as to where they were taken. Again, you can add that GPS information to your scanned photos. I have my map in my Mylio. I have things in Detroit, Michigan. I've never been there, but my grandparents were. And so I can click on that picture on the map and go see the pictures from when my grandparents were young married and my grandfather was in the Marine Corps and they were traveling around doing different things. And I have those pictures in my library as well. So there's different ways you can go about doing that. Beyond that, if you want to get into moving things into folders and adding keywords and adding metadata, that's all possible. But you start slow. You start at getting stuff together into one place, those physical things, sort through them. And then once you have all your digital files, get them into Mylio Photos or whatever you want to use to organize your pictures. And again, get them all into one place and then take the next steps. And I feel like I just talked on for a very long time.
You guys can edit that little verse out. I have to tell you, I'm really seeing this as a fun family activity where multiple generations, grandma, grandpa, the grandkids, and the adult children all get together and they're looking at photos, putting them in files, but also collecting stories.
Yes.
And I think that is so awesome. And I'll tell you right now, kids are so good at computer stuff. This would be easy peasy for them.
Oh, yeah.
And some kids just like to do data entry. What an awesome thing to think about. Here, you could put this down. This is the GPS or whatever. I just think that's
100%.
Great.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful thing to do as a family. I've crowdsourced this with my own family as well, because as I'm going through pictures, I don't know who half these people are. So I'm showing them to my mom. I'm showing them to my aunts. Yeah. I'm showing them to my grandma. And we're gathering those stories as much as we can. You mentioned earlier the virtual family reunion.
Yes.
There's different ways that you can do this. So one would be on a Zoom call and get your family on their share screen and be able to go through and start adding those stories and sharing those stories with each other and recording that data. Another way that I did this with my mom, two of my aunts, and my grandma. My grandma's 98 years old. So preserving the stories that she has is so precious. And anytime we can get her kind of talking about that stuff, we've learned things that we're like, wow, we had no idea.
Yep.
So what I did is I went over to my grandma's house. I took my laptop and my little hard drive that had all my pictures on it. And I took a long HDMI cable and I plugged it into her TV. So that way she could sit there in her nice chair and see on the TV big exactly what I was seeing on my computer. And then we went for probably 2-3 hours looking at pictures, fixing dates, adding face tags, so naming the people in the picture so we knew who was there. There were some family reunions where we're going, okay, that's this cousin. No, that's that cousin. And trying to figure out, and then grandma's pulling out her address book and looking things up and going, no, that's this person. And sharing those details and getting those recorded, because once the people who were there and those pictures are gone, those details are gone too.
Yes.
So but it was an incredible experience to get everybody into one room. And whether you can do that in person, that's great, or do it over Zoom, sharing those stories is really an amazing family bonding experience.
I love that. I really do. And I think that would be fun because we're a society right now where we don't live. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I got married right out of nursing school and I've lived all over the country. And I have other siblings that have moved. So we're not staying within 25 miles of where we grew up anymore. No. So it's really hard to get to family functions and stuff. So I love the ability of everybody getting together and sharing stories and connecting on a human level and a very personal family level. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's something that's really few and far between for a lot of families these days. Like you said, everybody's spread out. Yep. So the more that you can facilitate getting together, even if you can't get into the same room, technology has done amazing things for us that way. And it's up to us to leverage them and make that happen, because the time is now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, I've heard you talk about the ABCs of photo organizing. What does that stand for, and how can it simplify the process?
I'd say let's cut that one out. I don't remember. I think that was one that our PR person came up with, and I don't remember what she said.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Edit that one out, guys.
Sorry.
No, it's not you. It's me. Okay. Now, we know natural disasters and tech failures can cause devastating loss. And I know here, I'm in South Carolina, but the people in North Carolina had terrible flooding. And the people in Texas recently had terrible flooding, and California is having wildfires, and everything that was important to them has been lost to them. So we know that they could happen. Can you explain how Mylio and how it helps families safeguard their most important memories?
Absolutely. This is something that's pretty near and dear to my heart. I live in California, so I've been thankfully not personally had a loss from a fire, but I see it, and it's a constant fear. Making sure your stuff is safe and secure, both at your home and someplace offsite, is really important. And that's why we rely on the industry standard 3-2-1 backup method. So whether you're using Mylio Photos or you have your own system set up, the best way to do this is you have 3 copies of your data on at least 2 different types of media, with one of them offsite. So to break that down, what that can look like for a person is you have your computer and your external hard drive sitting at home, and that's where your primary copy of your stuff is. That's copy 1. That's your working copy. You want to have a backup of that. So you have maybe a hard drive or something that you're backing up to locally. So you have a replication of that, something that has it more than once. That way, if your computer dies, your external drive dies, you have it on another device right there on your desk. And so if one of those things fails, you go to the store, you buy a new one, and you replace it. Because it's not a matter of if a hard drive's going to die, it's just a matter of when. If you've never had this happen, you're very lucky. I've had it happen. Thankfully, I'm very cautious with backups these days. But my first data loss was many years ago, and it nearly cost me my job. It was ugly and expensive. So I don't want that for anybody. So having backups is really important. Having something locally that protects you against a device dying, or you lose your phone, or you lose, something. Now, when we talk about natural disasters, that's where that offsite copy comes in handy. And this is where the fact that we have the cloud now makes this very easy. There are many different ways you can go about this. If we speak just distinctly with Mylio Photos has the ability to replicate across multiple devices. So I can have it already syncing, say 2 hard drives that absolutely mirror each other here at my house. I can also have it mirror my entire library in the cloud, whether that's using Mylio's cloud or another S3 service, or say Google Drive or OneDrive, or we have different ones that we work with. So you can have that offsite copy. If your home were to become compromised, broken into, natural disaster, all of that, you can go get a new computer, log into your Mylio account, and everything will repopulate. So everything is protected that way. If you're not using Mylio Photos, another thing you can do is, and this is what I did before I had Mylio, and actually it's still what I do outside of, because it protects everything on my computer, not just my media library, is I have my computer, I have my hard drives. I'm on a Mac, so I have Time Machine Backup, which is a free utility that's included in your Mac. And you get an external hard drive, you say that's my time machine, and it backs up everything on your computer to that drive. So there's my local replication, there's my 2 copies. For my 3rd copy, I use a service called Backblaze. And this is about, I think it's about maybe it's about $190 for 2 years, unlimited storage, your computer and all your connected drives.
Yeah.
And it runs in the background. It's very slow. This is not meant to be I'm going to access this while I'm out and about. This is your disaster recovery. You set it, you forget it, you let it run. You just don't mess with it until you need it and hope you never need it. But you have it there. And I know that if everything here in my office is compromised, I can go to Backblaze and I can get everything that's on my computer, all of my important files. I can get those all back. So
into that.
yeah, and if you're just protecting your photo library, Mylio is excellent for that. If you're wanting to protect the bigger picture on top of that, Backblaze is amazing. And so that's what I recommend for people, kind of their baseline. And then you can add in additional layers of protection if you like. But what I will say for myself is, living in an area that is fire prone, I now know that I have a couple of less things that I need to worry if I'm given 20 minutes to get out of my house that I need to grab. I won't, if that's the time of limit I have, I'm grabbing my cats, I'm grabbing other heirlooms. You know what? If I don't get my computers and my hard drives, it's fine. If I have time, I certainly don't want to have to replace them. But if time is of the essence, I grab the living beings and I get out.
Yeah.
That's it.
For caregivers, photos could really help bridge memory gaps and bring joy to loved ones with dementia. Can you share how Mylio supports meaningful memory sharing?
Absolutely. So there's several different ways you can share photos with family with Mylio Photos. And when we're talking about somebody who has dementia, typically they may or may not have a decent grasp of how to manipulate technology. You can put Mylio Photos on an iPad or a tablet, for example, put it into the guest mode and hand it to that person, and they can flip through and they can look at those pictures. And it's in a protective mode to where they're not going to be able to delete anything, change any details. They can just look and enjoy. You can do it projected onto a TV. So you can do from a tablet or a phone, you can AirPlay to your TV, things like that, and share them that way. One of the things that I love to do with Mylio Photos is we have things called shared albums where you can get a group of pictures together, and it creates an online web gallery that all you have to do is click a link and you can view them. That's how I share things with my grandma. So thankfully, she doesn't have any sort of dementia. She is probably sharper than I am, but technology at 98 is not her favorite thing. Yeah. But she has on her phone, she can click a link in a text message and view all the photos that I send her. She doesn't have to download any software, doesn't have to have any technical ability other than clicking a link. And that makes it really easy to share with a very wide variety of people. And
go ahead. No, I was just going to say, most seniors are socially isolated and lonely, and this is a really important way for them to feel part of the family and still feel connected. And Absolutely. I really like that.
And as far as working with people who have dementia, Alzheimer's, all of that, pictures are such a gateway to their past and can light them up in a way that other things aren't even going to touch, because it takes them back to those moments that are clear in their minds. Yeah, because of the distant past. And in my experience, both of my grandfathers had dementia, and you could talk to them about things that happened early in their lives, and you wouldn't know that they had anything going on. But you get to stuck into more recent and ask them to recall any kind of details. That's when things got really hard. And then the further it progressed, the harder it got. But showing pictures is always so powerful and is a wonderful way to make a connection. With my maternal grandfather, his Alzheimer's was getting pretty bad by the time I got married. And my grandma and my aunts made the effort of bringing him to my wedding. Aww. And it was a bit stressful for them, but he was there and he enjoyed it. And I remember about a year later, he was starting to have trouble remembering names and associations. He knew you, but he just couldn't
Yes.
necessarily place you.
Yes.
And he would look at me, you're the girl with the pretty dress. And he remembered
Oh,
my wedding.
yes.
And so I could show him as things progress. I could show him the wedding picture. He'd be like, oh, okay, I remember now. And yeah, photos are such an important gateway to memories and connection.
It is also one of the most underutilized forms of activities. And caregivers don't realize that sitting down with doing an activity like going through old pictures and stuff can decrease negative behaviors, can make a person feel more calm and connected. And it's a really nice way to do an activity. And like you said, your grandma can look at it during the day, go through her shared folder during the day without anybody being around. And that's important because if she still can, that's great. That way she still feels connected and she's got things that she can talk about with you and you call, oh, I remember this, I remember that. It's just really, I love that.
Yes, it's amazing. My grandma, like I said, even though she's 98, she's super sharp, thankfully, and she texts. And so occasionally I'll come across a picture and be like, Grandma, what was going on here? I see that Grandpa was in this picture. Where was he at? Can you tell me a little bit more? And then what I've done actually is I screenshot that text message and I save that in Mylio library. So that context and that conversation is captured to go along with that image. And I think that's another kind of creative way to capture memory. So if you have someone who's capable of texting, or if they're doing voice recordings, you can do that kind of stuff too.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Now, I see that Mylio has a family plan. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So what it does is it lets you share your account with up to 5 people. And the family plan comes with assisted setup for every person on the account. So you get things configured correctly and you get to choose what you're sharing with people. So you break it down based on certain folders and certain categories of images. So say you go into your library, say, here's all my pictures that are family history. And when I add Uncle John, I only want him to see the family history stuff. And you can do that. And you can set it up to where Uncle John can add face tags, but he can't delete anything. He can add captions, but he can't move things to a different folder. Things like that. So you can set up these permissions and how things work and let people at different levels of technical ability into that library in specific areas and share those things. It also lets you, if you want to, with a group of people, if you want to let them add media, they can add media to the account. So maybe they're also doing their own scanning project and you want them to be able to upload to a specific folder. You can allow them to add media. Or if you've got kids that you want to share an account with and you want to have everything backed up together, you can allow them to upload their phone photos into a central vault, a central hard drive, and have that be backed up all together as a family. So there's different ways you can use it. The most common is having extended family being able to contribute to something like a family history project.
That's cool.
It works really well.
Very cool. Now, for people who aren't very tech savvy, how user-friendly is Mylio, and can older adults use it easily?
So that's an excellent question. It is a little bit more of a technical program, so I don't want to sugarcoat it, make it sound like it's too terribly easy. But if you can use software on your computer, it is very learnable. We've got a ton of education and resources for people to come and learn. So we do those one-on-one setup calls. So when you first join Mylio Photos, either as an individual or on a family plan, you get a 45-minute one-on-one setup session. So you get to talk to an actual person, get on a Zoom call, and they walk you through the first few steps of adding media and what you can do, just give you a general orientation of the program. And then they point you to all of the different resources we have. So a couple of things I do twice a week, I do live Q&A sessions where people can jump into a call on Zoom and ask questions live. Yeah. I do live tutorials and they can come to those, again, ask questions. We do webinars. We've got an extensive product manual and documentation. So we try to make it as easy as possible. But the thing to know about organizing a lifetime of photos is it took you a lifetime to make this pile of images. It's not going to get organized overnight. It does take effort. You do have to give it a little bit of your time, but it's so incredibly rewarding to do.
Absolutely. It really is. I was just thinking about it's a project that you should schedule. Like if it should become a hobby for a while.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, really. And whether it's people that like grandparents working with their grandkids to organize stuff, there's so many different ways you can take time to create this library. But what a precious gift you're given to the entire family.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah.
I just love that. Do you have some moving or transformational stories you've heard from people who used Mylio to reclaim control of their family memories?
Oh, I've talked to so many people who have used this in so many different ways. I don't have necessarily one jumping out, but I can speak for myself in that it's brought together my family in different ways that I didn't expect. One way was my dad actually got into this. So my dad is not a technical person. He hates learning new things. But he inherited all of these pictures of my grandma's, all these photo albums, and it was driving him crazy. And he had these boxes of photo albums. And my mom bought that scanner that I talked about, that Epson Fast Photo 680, and it sat in the box for 2 months. And finally, he just got annoyed and was like, all right, tell me what I need to do. And so my dad, who hates technology, he uses it, but he hates it, got out the scanner, hooked it up to his computer, and I walked him through all the settings he needed to do. And he sat there and he scanned somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 images.
Oh, my Lord.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's including, so that's not that many images exactly. So it'd be like the front and the back. So the Epson, what it does is scans the front and the back, and then also gives you an optimized image. So if it's discolored or faded, it gives you a version that looks better. So any one image had three files associated with it. So,
Gotcha.
okay, so maybe not 25,000, maybe like 12,000, but still, like it's a massive undertaking.
Yes, it is.
And so I got to work with my dad, teach him a little bit about Mylio Photos, teach him a little bit about how to scan and resolutions and all these different things. And so we got to spend time together doing this on the phone and laughing and joking. It's like, my dad is awesome and we have so much fun.
That's so cool.
So we got to do that. And then now that those are all scanned, my mom's been going through and doing a lot of the face tagging. So we're on one of those family accounts and we're able to all get in there, add information as we have time, and just crowdsource together this and then share it with the rest of the family. And so it's been a huge success. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm so appreciative of my dad for taking the time to do that. He also, after my grandma passed, he got all her movies. He had those professionally digitized. And shortly after that, he went through each one of those movies, and where he recognized different people in those movies, he made a spreadsheet that had who was there. So we have that record, and instead of just having this, okay, here's a movie of people, we can go, oh, that was uncle. Oh, and that was cousin over here. And they actually have more meaning that way because we now have that context. So again, saving and preserving those stories is everything.
Well, I also want to bring a point to you can tell your dad I told you this. Dementia prevention is doing something new and different every day. So not only was he creating neural pathways prevent dementia or at least delay it, he's also socializing and it's interacting, and that's another dementia prevention. So it's really good, especially for retirees.
Yes.
So tell him you're helping him.
I will.
So what's one small step our listeners can take today to start organizing, preserving their family photos, even if they feel like they've waited too long?
So today is the best day to start. It's only going to, tomorrow, it's going to feel that much more daunting, right? So start today and start with a little thing. Pull out a single photo album or grab a hard drive that you haven't accessed for a while, plug it in, download Mylio Photos, bring in a small group of photos and start doing some face tagging, adding some context. Take something small and then be able to check that off your list. And then next week, when you have a little bit of time, grab the next small thing and then start doing that. Just take it bit by bit, because if you try to consider it all at once, everybody's going to look at that and be like, okay, never mind. I shut down when I look at something too big like that. It's overwhelming. So take it a little bit at a time. Yeah. And use it as an opportunity to talk to the other people in your family and get them involved. And then it's going to become way more fun.
Exactly. You know what I think about my big family. Now I'm living in Myrtle Beach, so my family was all in Pittsburgh. They're all over now, but I can imagine when I was younger, I would have had fun going to all my aunts and uncles and saying, "Who's this? Tell me the scoop on them. Is there anything dirty we know about?" But when they were a kid, something silly or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can really like that. I just want to thank you so much. How can people find Mylio?
So you can go to mylio.com, Mylio. And if you want to find me, our community is the best place to go. I'm in there all the time. I'm the primary admin. You can go to community.mylio.com. And once you join there, it's free to join. You don't even have to be a user of the software. Come join us, see what it's all about, poke through the different articles and stuff that we have there. And you can direct message me from that platform. You can also find.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
If you want to take a look at my photography and find me personally, you can go to angelaandrew.com. And I'm hoping that'll be in the show notes because my last name is difficult to spell. So ANGLAANDRIEUX.
Yeah.
So you can find me there. You can find me on social media as well. And I would love to connect with you guys.
Great. To my family caregivers out there, you are the most important part of the family caregiving equation. Without you, it all falls apart. So please learn to be gentle with yourself. Practice self-care every day because you are worth it.